The most dangerous moment for a speculator is not after a big loss. It is immediately after a big win. A loss teaches you humility and caution, two of the most valuable assets a man can possess in this business. But a large profit teaches you the opposite. It injects a sweet poison into your veins, the poison of invincibility. It makes you believe your judgment is infallible and that the market has finally bent to your will. This feeling, this serene confidence that you have mastered the game, is the siren song that has led countless traders to their doom. The market is an expert at creating this euphoria right before it delivers the final crushing blow. Making money is a function of being right at the right time. Keeping it is a function of discipline, character, and a deep, abiding respect for risk. One is an act of intellectual acuity, the other is an act of will. One makes you rich on paper, the other makes you wealthy in fact. The first and most difficult rule for handling profits is to allow them to exist in the first place. You must learn to let them run. The average man sees a small profit and snatches it with the desperation of a starving dog. He is so afraid of it vanishing that he sells a position that is acting perfectly, simply to lock in a meager gain. He then watches, with a sickness in his stomach, as the stock continues to advance for another 20, 50, or 100 points. The small profit he took becomes a monument to his own cowardice. He sold not because his analysis told him to, but because his fear commanded him. The big money is never made in the day-to-day fluctuations. It is made in the great movements, the major trends. And you cannot capture a great movement if you are satisfied with a 3-point gain. I learned this lesson early and often. I would map out a campaign, correctly diagnose the primary trend, and take a position. The stock would move in my favor 2 or 3 points. The temptation to sell, to make the paper profit real, was immense. More often than not, I would succumb. I would sell my line and tell myself that nobody ever went broke taking a profit. This is one of the most foolish axioms ever uttered on Wall Street. You can and will go broke taking small profits. Your entire system must be built on the principle that your winning trades are so large that they pay for all of your small, inevitable losses. If your profits are as small as your losses, you are mathematically destined for failure, even if you are right more often than you are wrong. The brokerage commissions alone will devour you. I recall an old trader, a man they called Old Turkey on the street. He was a fixture in the brokerage houses, and he was known for being stubbornly, almost foolishly, bullish in a bull market. A younger trader would come to him, bragging about selling his steel stock for a handsome profit. "I sold my steel," the young man would say. Old Turkey would peer over his glasses and ask, "Why did you do that?" The young man would reply, "To take my profit, of course. I made 4 points." Old Turkey would then turn to him and say, with a calm that infuriated the young speculator, "Well, you know, it's a bull market," and go back to his newspaper. A week later, steel would be up another 10 points. The young man would see him again and say, "You were right. I should have held it." Old Turkey would simply repeat his mantra, "Well, you know, it's a bull market." He was not interested in the wiggles. He was not trying to scalp a few points. He was interested in the main swing. His genius was not in complex analysis, but in simple courage. He had the courage to be right and sit tight. This is the first rule of handling profits. Have the courage to let them grow. Do not cut your flowers to water your weeds. Let the profitable trade mature until the market itself tells you the trend is over. A profit is not a reason to sell. The second rule is the direct consequence of the first. Once you have made a large sum of money, you must learn not to risk it back foolishly. This was the hardest lesson of my life, one I had to learn through repeated catastrophic failure. After a great success, a man feels his power. He feels that the tape, that endless scrolling ribbon of prices we now see as a digital chart, is his personal servant. He forgets that the market is a cold, impersonal force that owes him nothing. The profits he just made feel different from his original capital. They feel like house money, easy come, easy go, and so he treats it with contempt. He doubles his position size. He takes flyers on tips. He trades on impulse rather than on his carefully constructed plan. He abandons the very rules that made him successful, drunk on the belief that he can no longer make a mistake. This is the cycle that broke me time and again. I would spend months, sometimes years, trading with caution and precision, slowly building my capital. Then, the perfect opportunity would arise. I would see the line of least resistance as clearly as a road on a map. I would stake my entire account, and the market would reward me with millions. In the days following such a victory, I was not myself. I was not Livermore the speculator. I was Livermore the demigod. I would walk into my office, and instead of studying the tape, I would listen to the whispers of other men. Someone would give me a tip, and instead of doing my own work, I would buy 1,000 shares on his say-so. The trade would go against me, but I would hold on, convinced it would turn because I was in it. Before I knew it, a quarter of my hard-won fortune would be gone, sacrificed on the altar of my own arrogance. I have been rich and I have been broke more times than I care to admit. And every single time I lost my fortune, it began in the days immediately following a massive success. My entire life's education in this unforgiving business is detailed in the pages of Reminiscences of a Stock Operator. If you wish to learn these lessons without paying the market the millions it cost me, the link is in the description of this video. It is the cheapest tuition you will ever pay. The market is not your friend. It is your adversary. The moment you forget this, the moment you let your guard down, is the moment it will strike. The rule is this: after a large profit, your discipline must become twice as strict. You should trade smaller, be more selective, or even step away from the market entirely for a few days to let the euphoria subside. Protect your profits with the ferocity of a wolf protecting its kill, because everyone, including your own weaker self, will try to take them from you. This leads directly to the third rule, which is the physical manifestation of the second. You must withdraw some of your profits. A number in a brokerage account is not money. It is a flickering electronic phantom. It is a promise, a potential, but it is not wealth. The market can reclaim that number in a single session. I learned at great personal cost that the only way to transform a speculative profit into permanent wealth is to remove it from the field of battle. You must pay yourself. You must treat your trading as a business. What kind of business owner works for years, generates millions in revenue, but never takes a salary? Only a foolish one, and the market does not suffer fools for long. During my most successful campaigns, particularly after the crash of 1929, I made it a point to systematically withdraw capital. I would take $1 million from my brokerage account and place it into a safe deposit box in the form of treasury bonds. I would establish annuities and trusts that were legally irrevocable. I put the money where the most dangerous man I knew, myself, could not touch it in a moment of weakness. This act does two things. First, it creates a psychological barrier. The money in your trading account is risk capital. It is your ammunition. The money in your bank account, in real estate, in bonds, that is wealth. That is the scoreboard. It is the tangible proof of your success. Second, it reduces the pressure. When you know that your lifestyle, your family's security, and your peace of mind are not tied to the outcome of your next trade, you can operate with a clarity and detachment that is impossible when you are betting the farm every single day. The man who trades to make a living is a slave to the ticker. The man who trades from a position of financial security is a master of his own destiny. The rule is simple and non-negotiable. Establish a regular, systematic plan for withdrawing a percentage of your net profits. Whether it is 25% at the end of every quarter or 50% after a windfall, you must move the money out of your trading account and into a safe haven. This is how you win the war, not just the battle. The fourth and final rule for handling profits is to know how and when to compound them. This is perhaps the most misunderstood concept in all of speculation. The amateur believes that compounding means simply increasing your bet size because your account is larger. He has $10,000 and trades 100 shares. His account grows to $20,000, so he begins trading 200 shares. This is not a strategy. It is a reckless form of self-destruction. It ensures that your largest losses will occur right after your largest gains, a phenomenon known as give-back, which plagues nearly every trader. True compounding, the way I practiced it, is a tactical art form. It is the principle of pyramiding. I never entered a trade with my full intended line. I would first send out a scout, a small probe. If I intended to buy 10,000 shares, I might first buy 2,000. This was my test. My initial risk was confined to a potential small loss on those 2,000 shares. If the stock immediately moved against me, I was out. The loss was small, a mere flesh wound. It was the market's way of telling me my timing was wrong. But if the stock moved in my favor, it was a signal. It was the market validating my judgment. My probe had found friendly territory. Only then would I add my second lot, perhaps another 2,000 shares, at a higher price. If the stock continued its advance, confirming the trend, I would add my third lot, and so on. Do you see the critical difference? I was not adding to a losing position. I was adding to a winning position. I was not increasing my risk because my account was large. I was increasing my exposure because the trade was working. My subsequent purchases were financed in effect by the paper profit from my initial purchase. I was using the market's money to press my advantage. This is intelligent compounding. It concentrates your capital on your best ideas at the exact moment they are proving themselves to be correct. The amateur takes his profits and lets his losses run. The professional cuts his losses and pyramids his profits. The rule for compounding is this: do not increase your general position size automatically. Instead, use the profit from an active, winning trade to add to that specific position as it moves in your favor through predefined technical levels such as pivot points. You must be aggressive only when the market itself gives you the green light. These four rules are a system of defense. The market is a battlefield, and your profits are the territory you have captured. Letting them run is your strategy for conquest. Refusing to risk them back foolishly is your fortification. Withdrawing a portion is your supply line to the home front, ensuring your civilization can outlast the war. And compounding them correctly is how you bring in your reserves to exploit a breakthrough and win a decisive victory. Forget the frantic search for the perfect entry. Forget the endless analysis of obscure indicators. Your success or failure will not be determined by your ability to make money. It will be determined by your ability to handle it once you have it. You must transform yourself from a daring raider into a disciplined general. Let your winners run with the patience of a glacier. Guard your accumulated profits with the jealousy of a dragon. Pay yourself with the regularity of a businessman, and press your advantage with the calculated aggression of a master strategist. The market will give you opportunities. Your job is to have the capital and the character to seize them when they come, and more importantly, to keep what you have earned when they are over. That is the only victory that truly counts.